Last year, Sheree and her family were burgled as they were sleeping. They didn't realise until the next morning.
I got to the bottom of the steps and all the cupboards and the doors in the kitchen was wide open. Came into my living room and realised that the telly had gone. So I went into the kitchen and I looked out my kitchen window, and that's when I realised that the car was gone as well. The kids, they've not really sat down and talked to me about how they feel, but it's affected my youngest son in a big way. He is dropping behind in his school because he's not sleeping. Do you know, he can be absolutely shattered, but he just will not go to sleep when he goes to bed. And even now, after all this time, he's still now 11, 12 o'clock, he's still wide awake. He won't go to sleep without a light on.
Sheree and her family's burglary is just one of 630,000 burglaries that take place every year. Security specialist ADT has teamed up with independent charity Victim Support to launch the Take No More campaign, which will focus on prevention, support and justice for victims.
We want to change the way that society treats and feels about burglary. They don't have to accept it. The in-depth research that we've conducted with Victim Support shows the long-lasting impact on families, but particularly with children, and there are up to 300,000 children affected by this every year.
Well, this is the first major study of its kind looking at the impact of burglary on children. And what it tells us is that the impact is actually more severe than we might have imagined. And actually, it even indicates that it might be more severe than some parents expect. We want to prevent people becoming victims of burglary in the first place. But if they are burgled, I think it's really important that they get the support they need to help come to terms with it and move on with their lives after being burgled. And if their case comes to court and they get the opportunity to challenge their offender, we want to be sure that they see justice done as well.
I think it's really clear when I work with families to see the impact that this has had on children, because they show it through their behaviour. So children might not talk about their worries, but I see it in the way that it comes across. So parents describe to me worries about going to bed, perhaps children wanting to have the light on, having some difficulty sleeping, poorer concentration, even effects on their schoolwork. One of the findings of the research that really resonated with me and wasn't a surprise to me was the fact that 1 in 3 adults are still impacted by the effect of a burglary that they experienced when they were a child. And as a clinician, I understand that this is because the mechanism of anxiety. When something happens that causes an anxiety in your life, unless that's resolved, unless that's something that you have the chance to work through, the effects of that will continue. Anxiety is not a disorder that resolves itself. So what we know is this affects children and the effect carries on into adulthood.
I agree, it's the mental torture of it all. They're out enjoying themselves and you've got a family that are petrified of being in house, petrified that they go to bed, they're going to get up to nothing.